this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. It's December the 15th and I'm going to pick a new die from this box. If you haven't watched the beginning of my series, I have made myself a DIY craft calendar, which means I have put dies that I have never used or I have only used once into this box, with me setting myself a challenge to use these dies at last. And for today I have got these dies, and these actually come with another big die that didn't fit in my box, which I have been sitting on my craft table here, which is this one here. It creates a forest scene. I know they're going to be die cuts. It cuts like a window in the middle, and these are the bits you can use to embellish your scene. I do actually have a reference picture from the packaging that I will dig out, and I will create something, but I don't want to do the obvious one, straightforward one, where I just cut this out and stick these on, because that will be too boring. So I'll have a think about what I'm going to do. I might create a window card with acetate, or maybe a shaker card. I'll have a think about this, and then I'll come back either with some stabs in the middle if I want to show you certain techniques, or I show you the finished product and talk you through how I have created that. See you later. My card is finished, and this is most certainly not how I had envisioned it when I started. It sort of evolved, and I'm really pleased with this. So I'd like to talk you through how I did this and what I did. First of all, I want to show you, I mentioned that before, it's worth keeping packaging for your die cuts if they have lots of parts, to know how to assemble this. So this is how they show how many parts there are, and this is how they suggest you assemble this. I cut this out of craft cardstock, and at that point I didn't know what I wanted to use for the background. As I said before, I had considered a shaker card. I even thought about doing this in white and doing a wintry scene. So the first thing I did was I ink blended a bit with my brown brown ink. I use my Lavinia, and I also, it's a truffle I think it's called, and I also use the pine on the green elements here and on here. I used my normal blending brushes, but then for the small bits I also used my new Lavinia stamps brush. And then I thought about what to use for the background, and I thought about using some pattern paper, and then I thought, do I have some autumn paper? And then I remembered these napkins. I only dug these out yesterday. Show you the full one, because I did a napkin decoupage craft yesterday, and so I thought this would be really nice to do that. So I cut my cardstock. This, by the way, is a funny format for me. I'd never used that one before. So I measured it and cut this from a 300 GSM cardstock. I suggest, by the way, you leave it a bit bigger than actually the napkin, because afterwards you can then cut it down with the napkin. And there are different ways of applying the napkin. For this one, because I knew it would be in the background, it would not be fully exposed, I just used my Pritt stick. The important thing is to get the Pritt stick all over and to not let it dry too much. There are a few bubbly bits here, I think, where either the glue had already dried or I didn't get any glue on. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to see. You can also use Mod Podge, but the problem with that is it will possibly get too wet, and I wanted to finish this card quickly anyway. There's also, if you've seen the video on my channel, the the option of laminating it, but as I said, for here I just decided on this quick version. So I glued that down. I glued this then on top, and I really like the combination here of oranges and pink and purple. I didn't have any cardstock that color, so I just decided to cut out the sentiment from the shadow from orange cardstock and the sentiment from this purple. Because it's so intricate, I decided to put double-sided tape on the back. and this is really cheap double-sided tape. The important thing is that you have a good die cutting machine and you apply a lot of pressure so that it does actually go through, at least go through the cardstock plus the sticky film. You don't need to cut the whole bit out, because then you can actually peel it up from here. That makes it so much easier to adhere it, and also this is more paper than cardstock, so if I used normal glue then to adhere this, it might get a bit too wet and too bubbly. Then another little tip, I've mentioned this before, when I die cut these little fellas here, I didn't need the whole lot here, but I like to keep my dies together. So when I cut from scrap cardstock, I like to put some layers of paper or even a cardstock underneath the bits that are exposed. So when I first cut the scribble, the bird was an afterthought. I basically cut it like this and had paper underneath this bit, so this would not damage my cutting board. Yeah, and then yeah, I used my collal glue for the other bits, and yeah, I'm really pleased with this. So it's an autumnal birthday card, but I really like the colours, and I think I already know the person who would appreciate this for her birthday. And yeah, not what I had planned, but I'm quite pleased with the result. Okay, if you like this video and this card, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of my videos, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you tomorrow with the next video.